Well, hello lads and ladies, welcome back to another manga review, and today we are doing the well-long awaited, very brand new, surprisingly brand new manga series of Wolf&Parchment Volume 1. Now with the manga version, you obviously know what might have gone down in the light novel version. This definitely does follow the story. Of course, the original story is by Izuna Hasakura, but the art is by Hidori. I believe that's their name. Yeah, the artwork is done by Hidori, whilst the character design, I believe, is also by Jiu Akukura, I believe. I might be saying that name wrong, but my apologies. Anyways, we are here finally to cover this fantastic series again, and I'm really liking this. So what I'm going to do is obviously you know the story, so I won't delve too much into that. But you know, if you want to like catch up on like what's been going on with the story, you can have a look in my light novel reviews. You'll find it there. I'll be like within the first 10 books or so. I think I go over at least about 3 of the volumes basically. So I'll just do like a quick scan over what the manga covers, from them leaving Niyahara, the bathhouse basically in the north, to Winfell down nearby the south. Well, I wouldn't say it was south, it's more like easternly basically, so it's just like right on the edge of the map where Cole basically points on the map to Myuri where they are basically. So to cover the whole process of the story really, Myuri is the daughter of Holo and also the daughter of Lawrence the merchant. And the interesting thing with the manga compared to the light novel is obviously we get to see the characters in their full basically. It's interesting how I saw Myuri for the first time, because Myuri looks so much like her father. She has the boisterous nature of her mother, of course, with Holo being, you know, very an outspoken young woman and all that. Myuri is roughly the same, although she's a little bit less experienced, so it's kind of Holo without the experience behind it, so she obviously lacks a few things here and there basically. So, of course, they are on their way to the town of Winfell. There are some small differences here and there from when they meet the Royal Guard of Winfell, who turns out to be a woman, who they originally think is a boy. That turns out to be a woman. They meet her sort of like 3/4 away into the book, really. So it's still, the manga is mostly about showing off the beauty of the landscape, and that's what this book covers very well, is how it like shows off like boats, cities, people, and the way interactions go about in like those old Germanic style type kiosks and stuff like that. You know, they kind of like capture the movement and the conversations of people in and out fruitfully basically. That's kind of like what a marketplace or a market queue looks like basically, how people go about their lives, they do things here and there, they trade and so on and so forth. I would have liked it if this book was a little bit more in colour really, because there are some gorgeous colours, like there are some gorgeous palettes I should say, sorry, where say like this opening here basically, where Myuri is walking out of a town basically. The interesting thing with this is that you can see some of the light rays coming down onto the green, and the red velvet is very shown off here, and to the woodwork on here basically, it gives it a nice little rustic feel basically. So I feel like if this book was totally in colour, this would be something completely gorgeous. And also how the sky is, you can't really see it very well, hold on, how the sky is sort of turquoise blue basically. It's such a gorgeous colour really. Now with the manga, the other differences with this is mostly focused on, like in the light novel, it mostly focuses on the first 100 and some odd pages, who Myuri is, who Cole is. You obviously know who Cole and Myuri are if you've like read the novel. If you haven't, then go and read it. Trust me, it's probably the more interesting novel because it focuses a lot on Cole's specifications for wanting to be a priest. Basically, he believes that the common day priesthoods and religion is mostly just there to tax its poor, which it was, and in some truths it still is, basically to certain dates here and there, basically. But then it's a very tricky situation to talk about religion, really, because people need something to believe in. Then again, you might be believing in a story that might either be made up, but again, it doesn't need to be like made up for you not to have any faith in it or believe in it, basically. And then there are some like works of fiction that have truth to them. So what we might be looking at with the Bible, it might just be one big story. There is obviously going to be some truth behind it, basically, in certain senses. So Cole's idea of becoming a priest is mainly to teach the current priesthoods right from wrong, basically, when it comes to practicing the religion. He, of course, doesn't know how to learn scripture. He doesn't know how to do scriptures, basically, so he's just trying to figure that out here and there, basically. Whilst Myuri was kind of sent on this trip with him to kind of keep it in line, due to the whole abstinence thing, really, with him, because with an awful lot of priesthoods and religious vicars and fathers and so on and so forth, they'll always take a rite of abstinence or something like that, basically. So the interesting thing with that is that throughout times, basically, men have been led with two heads, mostly the smaller one, whilst women are the more clear thinking. Well, they're more cloak and dagger about things here and there, really, especially in this world, really, with the likes of like Holo, because Holo kept Lawrence on the straight and narrow when it came to business deals, basically, because she knew how to read people, and she knew how to read people's emotions, basically, which kind of also led to how they could deal more specifically with the right merchandise and the right people when they sold their merchandise, basically. So with Cole, it was kind of the same thing with Myuri, but with Myuri, she kind of relies on Cole because of her being a wolf, basically, well, half wolf and half human, basically, because she realized that the world was quite cold and miserable and so on and so forth without him, because she came to him one time in the night and asked, will I never have friends again? And instead of him basically saying, well, God will always love you, which you would normally hear, like, you will always like have the confessions where like most of the vicars and fathers will always say to you, like, as long as you have God, then there's nothing to worry about, basically. But that's another way of them instilling faith into you in a certain sense. It works wonders for people that are kind of lost in life, really. But with Myuri, he kind of takes a separate step with this because he realizes that he's probably the only person that knows her truly and is close with her. So he basically tells her that she'll always have him, basically. And that's enough for Myuri, really, and that's why she has such a strong, close bond with Cole, because they rely on one another. She requires him to be with her at all times because that's her rock, that's her emotional rock, really. That's the thing that keeps her, happy and cheery, basically, whilst he needs her to keep him sort of on the straight and narrow when it comes to the whole, being led astray type of deal, really. Which is a nice small little shadowing of Hollow and Lawrence, basically. Of course, they're in Winfell. They obviously Cole learns how to use scriptures and ink and parchments and so on and so forth, whilst Myuri is kind of dealing with the whole life away from the bathhouse, basically. She's ended up having to braid her hair and wear errand boy clothes, basically, so that's another way of trying to hide her way of looks, basically, because there was a scene where she was dancing in the snow amongst the people around the town, which is good and all, she's enjoying herself, but you can't be too blind to the world around you, especially when you have people that wouldn't be so kind to offer you to dance and fall on one knee to give you roses. You know what I mean? Not everyone's a gentleman and not everyone is a lady in the world that they live in, basically. There's always darkness around every corner, and you have to be sure of that. So yeah, it kind of ends there really, where they go to speak with the god of Windfell. I can't remember her name, unfortunately. It's been a while since I've last read it. I've just quickly zimmed through it, and it's mainly just to look at the artwork and all that, because I do roughly remember the story. It's just trying to like maintain the names in my head. I'm awful when it comes to names. Like, you give me like a name of like 500 people, and I'll only give you like maybe 100 back. It's faces I remember mostly. Like, I'll always remember your face. Either it be if it's long like a horse, or if it's round like a plate. That just sounds like I'm insulting you, but I'm not. That's just how I do things, really. And if you're wondering why I'm wearing a hat, I've cut my hair, and it's a little bit chilly today, so I will be keeping this on for now. And I've also shaved the beard. The beard has been shaved. I'm going to try and keep it to this length, because honestly, it looks good. It looks good like this. It's much more difficult to keep like my hairs from getting sparsed out when it's like all the way down to here basically, and the walrus is still here, sort of. Like, if I go down a little bit, I can get the walrus, but the handlebars are gone, because the handlebars just really annoyed me, and they really hurt when they're too long, and they like get caught on food that you're eating, so it's always a nuisance when I have to like push it to the side all the time basically, and it's always a waste of mustache wax anyway. Not that I never use mustache wax, because it did go up on its own quite fine, but the mustache wax just keeps it neatly tucked basically, keeps it there for eating purposes and stuff like that. But anyway, I kind of like the English mustache look. I think it's either English mustache or what's that one where it's like straight over the lips? I can't remember what, chevron. That's it. It's like a chevron, but not, because there's like a little dip here in the middle of my lips that doesn't meet in the middle. So I'd say it's kind of an English mustache. Sorry, I'm talking more about my facial hair than I am the book. My apologies. So anyway, yes, that is Wolf&Parchment Volume 1. A very good read, very good, nice little read if you just want to enjoy a nice little lightheartedness of this, basically. It of course delves into the rights and wrongs of the world, like close relationships and also religion, basically, which is obviously still a sensitive subject to most people, but I feel like for you to appreciate one's culture, you have to be willing to talk about it and poke holes in it, basically, because if something goes so long without being questioned, then it doesn't it like falls out the category of basically being put on this pedestal, and also the step of justice, basically, if you know what I mean. So something has to be judged for like the wrongs, but also be praised for its goods. So religion has been bad for our world, but also been good, really. So it's nice that religion can be read in a book, but not have it be either too lectorial, basically, or boring through words. They kind of keep it interesting within Wolf&Parchment, but not making it too much for the reader to be like, oh, I'm basically just reading about religion now. Which is alright if you're a follower, but if you're not, then it's kind of goes on and on and on. But they don't do that, they just do it in small sections, so it kind of gives you a nice little interest of like what their religion is based on, basically. There's no basis for the religion in here, it's just small instances of Christianity, Catholicism, and other types of westernized religions. And there are small little instances of Shintoism in here as well, which is quite nice, because they're not just using one religion and sticking with it, they're actually mixing multiple cultures together, basically, which is quite nice, really. It's kind of like gives that nice little neat tuck glue when it comes to all cultural religions, basically. So yes, the manga itself is out. I also have the second volume as well. I will do a review of that. I'll probably do maybe a tattoo story time or another Konohana Kitan review before I do volume 2. And then I will hear from you guys whether or not if you'd like to hear more about it, basically. I won't be going over the story that much, I'll just be doing like the artwork and small differences here and there. But from the first manga, not much of a difference. It mostly just focused on like landscapes and other types of stuff like that, because with the light novel it was mostly about reading, whilst this you actually get nice good bits of artwork, which is quite nice. Like, some people do enjoy a manga over the light novel most days, really. So, with that, lads and ladies, I thank you all ever so much for enjoying this little review. If you've watched it, thank you ever so much, and yeah, I will see you all next week. Take care, my friends.